another planet behind your head because it's so
Yes,
dark.
exactly.
It's like you're in the atmosphere and
Yeah.
there's another planet. If that's the look you were going for, it worked.
There you go.
Mayor Baker, I'm ready to start if you are.
1 second. You're very faint. Oh, I see why. All right, now try it.
Can you hear me okay?
Now I can. All right, are you recording?
We are. Yes.
You are?
Yeah.
Okay. Kenmore City Council is now in session. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Marshall.
Present.
Councilmember Shrubnik.
Here.
Councilmember File.
Present.
Councilmember O'Kane.
Here.
Councilmember Kugler.
Here.
Mayor Baker.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Herbig has
All
been
right.
excused.
He's excused.
Thank you.
So if you will all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, the flag salute. We don't have one, but I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Shrubnik, you saved the day.
Good job.
All right. Next item on the agenda is we are going to adjourn into executive session pursuant to RCW 45.30.1101, subsection I, on potential litigation and litigation. We will be in executive session for approximately 40 minutes, and we may have a decision when we come out of executive session. So with that, we will.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted to clarify.
Uh-oh.
I thought you said 40 minutes, but I think the agenda says 30 minutes.
The agenda says 30, but I was advised it's 40, but we can go with 30
okay.
and come out at 30.
No, it's a regular meeting. You can identify the time frame. I just didn't know if that was a mistake. I apologize.
Yeah, no, it was communicated to me it would be 40. So
Thank you.
then it will be 40, and if necessary, we'll come out and extend it. But there may be decisions made when we return to regular session. So with that, and one more thing on executive sessions, just a reminder that no notes are to be taken, and that your memories have to suffice. So anyway, thank you, and I will see you in executive session in just a few seconds. Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. And for all of our guests who are still here, I just want to reiterate that the council has adjourned into a closed executive session to discuss pending or potential litigation. They're going to be in that session for at least 30 minutes, likely 40. They might want to extend. We don't know that yet. There might be action following the executive session, and we'll know more once they come out of that room. Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you. We're all joining here.
It's going to take a minute for all the council to join us. Mayor Baker, is your microphone on?
Yes, my microphone is on.
Okay.
All right. Let's go ahead and come out of executive session. And I think there will be one action from executive session. And that would be a motion to approve the CR2A settlement agreement between Ridout and the city of Kenmore relating to the city of Kenmore versus Ridout and others at King County Superior Court, consolidated cause numbers 19-2-31074-0 and number 20-2-08268-6 and authorize the city manager to sign the agreement. Is there a motion?
So moved, Councilmember File.
Is there a second?
Second, Councilmember Kugler.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please take the roll on the motion?
Councilmember Kugler?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane?
Yes.
Councilmember File?
Yes.
Mayor Baker? Mayor Baker?
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik?
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall?
Yes.
The motion passes.
All right. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. And I would like to suggest, one second here, let me get to my place, a motion to add to the agenda under Section 8 business agenda as item number 1 for council consideration and potential adoption of Ordinance 21-0530, an ordinance of the city of Kenmore, Washington, adopting a 6-month moratorium on the application for intake of, review, or issuance of any development permit or approval for the establishment, location, and or construction of any development within the transit-oriented development overlay district and overlay area. Setting a date for a public hearing on the moratorium and declaring an emergency and establishing an immediate effective date. Is there a motion to add this to the agenda?
So moved, Councilmember File.
Seconded, Councilmember Shrubnik.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor of adding this to agenda, say aye.
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 Opposed? Stands added to the agenda unanimously. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Madam Clerk, would you please read the preamble?
We want to welcome all our community members to the council's meeting, and in this forum, the council does not engage or dialogue with the public. The primary role of our council is to listen. All comments must be addressed to the mayor and the city council. Please use your raise hand feature right now if you wish to speak, and I'll acknowledge your request and call your name when it's your turn. Your time will start when we can confirm that we hear you. Please state your name, city of residence for the record, and keep your comments to the allotted 3 minutes. Your time cannot be granted to another, and your clock time will not be reset unless there are extenuating circumstances and the presiding officer has expressly allowed it. Screen sharing is not allowed. You're welcome to submit materials to the council or clerk in advance. Please do not comment about pending development projects on which the council will make future decisions, as those are quasi-judicial matters, and the council must limit their communications about them. This meeting is being recorded. We thank you very much for taking the time to express your comments. Again, if you wish to speak during this meeting, please raise your hand right now. Mayor Baker, I'm moving to promote all the guests that are wishing to speak.
Fine. And if you will call on them when appropriate, please.
Thank you. I think I'd like to take them in the following order. In a moment, we're going to begin with David Morton, followed by Elizabeth Mooney and Stacy Valenzuela. Let me go ahead and share our screen timer. Mr. Morton, can we hear you?
Hi, good evening, council members. I'm David Morton. I live near Redmond. Last Friday, August 13th, I joined a few people on Burt Gilman Trail across the road from the Cadman asphalt plant in Kenmore to stand in solidarity for clean air. I wrote a postcard to Governor Inslee in support of the emergency proclamation request and waved a sign to raise awareness of the air pollution caused by the plant. The air we were breathing there smelled strongly of mercaptan gas, which smells like rotten eggs or rotten cabbage. Mercaptan is added to natural gas to make it readily detectable by a person with a normal sense of smell. The mercaptan concentration seemed very excessive, possibly at toxic levels. One person had to leave because the mercaptan fumes gave her a headache and other unpleasant side effects. Cadman burns a lot of natural gas at their asphalt and concrete plants, but we smelled lots of unburned natural gas, which we should not have been smelling. Natural gas is mostly methane, a powerful greenhouse gas. Puget Sound Energy says that everybody needs to know the rotten egg odor of natural gas so they can recognize, react, and report a gas leak. If you smell natural gas leaking from Cadman's facilities, immediately call PSE's toll-free number or call 911. Had I thought of it at the time, I would have called. Don't assume someone else will report the leak. On another matter, on August 11th, 2021, I requested from Washington State Department of Transportation all available public records from the past 8 years pertaining to DOT's testing of the asphalt cement or binder, which Cadman uses to make asphalt paving mix. Results may be ready by September 30. DOT does not test Cadman's binder unless Cadman is producing paving mix for a state contract or unless a city or county requests that WSDOT perform such tests. A similar request from DOT for public records regarding the Watson asphalt plant in Redmond revealed that during the 18-month period from July 2014 through December 2015, DOT did not test a single sample from Watson. During that time, Watson used over 7.2 million gallons of untested binder, which might have been cut back asphalt for all we know. So today I'm asking the city of Kenmore to please request that WSDOT frequently test both of Cadman's asphalt cement binder storage tanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morton. Elizabeth Mooney?
Hi, Anastasia and council. You can see me and hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. My name's Elizabeth Mooney. I live in Kenmore. I'm calling on you today for a solution. I would appreciate it if you would consider using the money from the American Rescue Plan to solve our big problem at the shoreline. Maybe buying the Lake Point Kenmore industrial site and using that money to preserve the habitat, make it an environmental education and wonderful spot for healthy Kenmore and North Lake Washington. Based on the consent decree for the Kenmore Industrial Park, which maybe you can see there, and it's also called Lake Point Kenmore Industrial Park, I propose that we have a moratorium on any developments or businesses at that site because the Department of Ecology is not up and running right now due to hiring freezes. So any activities should be considered to be held off until the Department of Ecology is up and running. Also, in that same area at our shoreline, last Friday the 13th, I was also with David Morton with citizens supporting the city's letter to Governor Inslee to stop asphalt emissions during hazardous air conditions. And I support everything he smelled and said. The Cadman stack did smell like mercaptan, and we tried to contact people to support your letter. Thank you for that. But we also noticed, thanks to citizens, that it appears that the Cadman stack is new. And I guess we're wondering, did they fill out any notice of construction? Is there anything the city can do? We're fully aware that Puget Sound Clean Air Agency, since the violation occurred, has not stopped the production of asphalt. And our citizens are still suffering from those emissions and concerned that we have not tested what comes out of that stack. Can the city shut them down even if Puget Sound Clean Air Agency couldn't? We citizens don't have enough money to test from the stack. And the last thing I will say is that on the Lake Point site back in 2011-12, the dirt that looks like it's over at Evergreen top bark and topsoil was potentially with a toxic component.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mooney. Stacy Valenzuela?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. I was excited to see that Cedar Grove was opening a location in Kenmore for residents to drop off organic waste, which is great and what we have been asking for. However, when I saw the address that they are setting up right behind Cadman and near the Kenmore Industrial contaminated site, which means that the soil and the organic matter would likely be contaminated as well with petroleum oil, dioxin, arsenic, etc. I was no longer excited. In fact, I will no longer be purchasing or recommending their compost or soil due to the chance of contamination. I'm wondering if Kenmore shared that this is a contaminated soil site when they applied for their business permit. The residents had to bring this issue forward before when it happened with topsoil, from what I understand. We do not need contaminated soil being sold throughout Kenmore or other towns in Washington, and I would think you would be concerned. Some of our residents have also seen equipment changes at Cadman and they're already in violation of their permit with one equipment change. They also have seen trucks leaving the site uncovered. This is another violation. Our residents are pleading week after week for you to show action toward protecting our environment and our natural resources, to practice throughout our city reducing carbon gases, emissions, waste. After another heat wave and wildfire smoke level 2 warning, scientists are again calling for changes for the crisis we are in. We need all businesses, including our city, to take the climate pledge. All of us need to do our part in recycling, reusing, and reducing. We need to use less plastics, less cement, less fossil fuels. What changes will you, our city leaders, make to lead us forward in our community of recycling, reusing, keeping our natural habitat, and protecting our environment? We hope that you will go forward with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valenzuela. Phyllis Finley, followed by Vicki Grayland. Phyllis? Phyllis, can you hear us? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was double muted.
Okay. Phyllis?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I live in Kenmore on 184th Avenue Northeast, and we have a
Excuse me,
situation.
please state your name.
Phyllis, my name is Alex Bushel. I live in Kenmore, Washington. And what I am commenting about is a situation where city code is being violated on a daily basis by a resident of the city that is dwelling on an RV on land that is zoned residential. It's not an RV park. The city code clearly states that it's not allowed to dwell on that RV for more than 45 days a year. A complaint has been filed on April 27th through the city hall. The adjudication of the claim is that he needs to remove his RV and not dwell on it any longer, but he's clearly not doing it. The 45 days have passed. It is not clear within the code whether he should be removed forcefully or whether a fine should be assessed against that person, but he's clearly flouting the rule of law. He's lowering our property values by living in an RV when it is not an RV park. It's a single home residential community, and it is impacting the quality of life of residents by basically connecting electricity to his RV, connecting water and sewage without a permit in a section of the city that is not zoned for the use that is imposing on us. This situation is extremely disconcerting, how the city is not taking action to enforce its own municipal code. And I am asking the mayor and the city council to take action and either remove the person and the offending vehicle from the land on 184th Avenue Northeast, or fine him properly, or use the police powers available to the city to remove the vehicle from this land. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alex Bouchon. Vicki Grayland.
Thank you. I'm Vicki Grayland and I live in Kenmore. First, I support the comments of the first three speakers, David Morton, Elizabeth Mooney, and Stacy Valenzuela. And I'm also here to thank the City Council for working together with citizens of Kenmore to petition the governor to step up and alleviate suffering during a hazardous air event. It's not a law, but the governor's website says to give him 45 days to respond. My rough calculation is that would be September 20th. I think the people of Kenmore are a bit tired of being patient, but thank you for standing with us. It means so much. Thank you for doing the right thing, and please continue.
Ms. Grayland, are you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I see 2 additional hands raised, Mayor Baker. I'm going to attempt to promote them. But I'm running into a little bit of a snag, so I'm going to see if we can allow them to talk. Janet Hayes. Janet Hayes. Janet Hayes, if you wish to speak, can you unmute?
Unmute.
Oh, we hear you. Do you hear us?
I do.
Very good. You have 3 minutes if you'd like to speak.
What I'm going to speak about is in 2011, when Gary Sargent, who owns Pioneer Towing at Lake Point, was accepting demolition dredging spoils from Hog Canal to his site. That waterfront construction was in the middle of the Clean Water Act that I was a part of. They had built a berm and they brought the dredge into the berm and placed it there, and it dried out there. And then consequently, when he did his maintenance work, it became part of the debris that he was to get rid of to accommodate Kiewit, the company that was going to do the anchors and segments, that did do the anchors and segments for 520. That soil was deemed unfit for any addition to a product that was being topsoil by Evergreen, bark and topsoil. They were putting it in with their topsoil, and it had components, we were told by Bob Warren from DOE, that had components of hazardous waste, and it has contaminated chemicals. So that continues today. I filed an ERTS between July 26th to July 30th regarding the same soil being moved into what I thought was Evergreen, but now turns out to be Cedar Grove. My concern is, what has any more testing been done to find out what is in that soil? It was dredged from Hog Canal in 2009, 10, and 11. I have pictures if you'd like to see them, and I'll provide anything that I can. My statement is true. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Baker, I see no additional hands raised.
Is there anybody else wishing to comment? Is there anybody else in the community wishing to comment? Hearing no further comments, public comments is now closed. So let's see here. The next item on the agenda then would be the business agenda. And we have a new item 1 discussing a moratorium on development in the downtown, oriented districts. So, Mr. City Manager or whoever is going to lead from the staff this discussion.
Mayor Baker, I'm promoting Lori Anderson right now.
Wonderful.
Good evening, Mayor Baker and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is Ordinance 21-0530, which is a moratorium that would put an immediate halt to applications for development, new development in the area of the Transit-Oriented Development District Overlay. That's an area that runs along SR 522 on the north side, east of 73rd Avenue Northeast. The purpose of the moratorium is to allow the current planning processes to come to conclusion. As you'll recall, looking at the TOD area was part of the docket that was assigned with the land use element of the comprehensive plan. So we are asking that you put the moratorium in place to allow us to finish that study, and we expect it will take about 6 months, approximately 6 months. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to City Attorney Dawn Riton, and she is going to walk through the ordinance.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, if I may ask the city clerk, I believe she's going to share the ordinance.
Yes. Let me know when you see it.
I can see it. Thank you. And so, again, repeating what Ms. Anderson mentioned was that proposed before you is the ordinance number 21-0530, essentially adopting a moratorium in the TOD district overlay area for approximately 6 months. The findings are established, which again, emphasize just the need for the city to have time to complete the planning process and to implement its vision for the TOD district overlay zone. Can you go down to the actual sections, please? So first of all, the city has police powers under the state constitution that authorize it to impose this moratorium. State law has superimposed certain procedures on top of that. And so the findings that you're adopting as part of that include, again, the need for time to complete the planning process. The moratorium itself is the heart of this ordinance is in section 2. It talks about the adoption. It talks about your authority under both state constitution and state law. And then it specifically tailors out, so it prevents new applications and the review of new applications that aren't vested in this TOD district overlay. And the area is defined in your own code. So it's very understandable. A layperson can look it up and understand where it applies. But there's certain permits that have already vested. They're already in the process. And this ordinance understands that and makes small exemptions for those. So if you can go down to section 3. Thank you. State law also identifies that if a city council adopts a moratorium ordinance without first holding a public hearing, that they need to schedule and hold a public hearing within 60 days. And this section 3 anticipates that, and in fact schedules the public hearing for this moratorium on September 27th, 2021 at 7, or of course when the business agenda allows for it to be held. And then you will have your opportunity then to include additional findings for the moratorium if you see necessary. The duration again is going to be for 6 months, which then means it will be through and until the end of February 16th of 2022, where it will automatically expire at the end of the day, unless, of course, it's repealed earlier, or if this council determines at that time to extend or modify it. really the other stuff is pretty common. You authorize a city manager to implement this moratorium. But if you'll go down to the effective date, Madam City Clerk. Thank you. So normally ordinances take effect 5 days upon publication, but with an emergency declaration, this ordinance will take effect immediately upon adoption. And the necessity of having your process preserved is an emergency that you can declare. So that has been provided in Section 8. And under state law, you need a majority +1 of the entire council membership to be able to declare such an emergency. So those are really kind of the primary points of this moratorium ordinance. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the council has.
Mayor Baker, if
Yes.
I may, I did want to note that this attachment that we're screen sharing right now has also been uploaded to the public agenda. If members of the public would like to follow along, they're welcome to follow the link by refreshing the agenda that they clicked on.
All right. Questions? Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
So for whichever staff is appropriate, would putting the moratorium in place give us time then to look at options for increased density for this area to include potentially more low-income housing, for instance?
This is Lori responding to the question. The current transit-oriented development district overlay does include an affordable housing component. The Planning Commission has not completed their discussion of that overlay and whether what the future will hold for it. But this moratorium will give us time to consider densities and whether the overlay should become a mandatory overlay or continue as a voluntary overlay.
But that decision is ultimately the council's decision, correct?
That is correct.
So then if we chose to do it, we could have that the mandatory affordable housing, correct?
That is correct. The Planning Commission, as I said, is working through the process right now to make a recommendation for you.
Is there any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Kugler.
Do we already know when the Planning Commission will be presenting that information to the City Council? Is 6 months tight, or does it give us enough time in the event that things change for our agenda?
So the Planning Commission has had one meeting where they discussed the TOD and potential densities. This fall, we'll be going through a number of items for the land use element of the comprehensive plan. And I expect that the Planning Commission will be developing their alternatives next spring. I don't have an exact timeline.
And if I may add on to that, Councilmember Kugler, the state law allows for you to extend the moratorium if you do not have sufficient time at the end of 6 months. The council does have the opportunity to extend it.
Are there any other questions? Councilmember File.
No question, Mr. Mayor, but at this time, I'm ready to make a motion to adopt the moratorium, given our commitment to the TOD and density and affordable housing with council goals. I think this makes good sense to protect the interests of the city, along with giving time for the Planning Commission to continue their work.
So then if I understand this correctly, you want to move to adopt ordinance number 21-0530, an ordinance of the city of Kenmore, Washington, adopting a 6-month moratorium on the application for intake of and review or issuance of any development permit or approval for the establishment, location, and or construction of any development within the transit-oriented development district overlay area, and setting for a date for a public hearing on the moratorium, declaring an emergency, and establishing an immediate effective date. Is that correct? Is that the motion?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Is there a second?
Second, Councilmember Kugler.
Yes. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember Shrubnik.
Yes.
Councilmember File.
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane.
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall.
Yes.
Councilmember Kugler.
Yes.
Motion passes.
With the mandatory 5 votes, and actually it was unanimous, those present. So then the motion passes, and the effective date is immediately because of the emergency that was added. All right. Next item on the agenda is if there's no other business to come before us, and remember the next scheduled meeting is the 13th, and then the 20th, and then the 27th. So if there is no further business to come in front of this council, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor. Councilmember O'Kane has her hand raised.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't see we didn't have.
Councilmember File or Councilmember O'Kane.
Yeah, I just did want to bring up one thing since this is our last meeting for a while. Just wanted to touch base on the North King County Task Force on Homelessness. Just want to check in to see if there were any comments that we as a council wanted to provide, or if we're okay with the language. Is that okay to do at this time? For Colleen Kelly with the North King County Task Force on Homelessness.
They're asking staff for that. Is that correct?
Yes, and I just want, yes.
Yeah, and so I think the city manager has got that under control, and I think council certainly in agreement with doing what we can in the right area to help how we can. So,
thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember File.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to recommend a review of our council budget. At last meeting on our council budget at the beginning of the year, we did put a reduction on our council budget where our city proceeds are doing fine. The city staff themselves did not get a reduction. And at this time, I feel it's time to review our council budget and possibly restore it. So I'd like to add that topic to an upcoming agenda if there's a second.
I think that has happened. I know that in discussions with city manager that the council budget is more or less restored. But if you want to add it to the agenda, is there a second to that?
If something has occurred or if something progressed, I'm in favor of hearing at least a brief update as to what it was or what the adjustment was.
Mr. Are you there with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Can we get at a future meeting, please?
Future meeting, yes, and I recommend that it be part of the mid-year biennium budget amendments, which we're planning.
Okay.
Which will be a little bit later this fall, either September or October. In the meantime, our revenues are doing better than anticipated for this year, and I recommend that if you do have some training, that you go ahead and register for it.
All right. If there's no further business to come in front of us, we are adjourned, folks. Thank you all very much. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.